On the no side though, my code's probably not as tested as a commercial system. So you can see there's a little bit of a trade-off here depending on what you're trying to build. Hey, what's going on, folks? It's Mike here, and in this lesson, I want to go ahead and introduce a new segment where I talk about some programming advice. And this is just some wisdom that I've gotten throughout the years from student or other colleague questions. So with that said, here's the first question. And this often comes up. So should I code something from scratch? And in truth, it's not really a yes or a no question, but there are a few things to consider. So let me take you back to my story for a little bit. When I first started to learn how to program in my early teenage years, I wanted to build a compiler from scratch. I thought programming languages and compilers and these things were just some of the coolest things. Games and compilers, those were always the two things that captured my attention. And I always wanted to figure out how assembly worked, the C programming language, and all these nitty-gritty details. But the truth is, I probably wasn't ready at that level. Needless to say, I tried, failed many times, and sometimes I would get discouraged by trying to build this massive project. So, when it comes to answering this question, one of the things you have to consider is what is the scale of the project that you're trying to build from scratch? Is it an operating system? Is it a game engine? Is it a fully fledged commercial video game? That's going to vary what kind of tools and components you use. That said, though, I don't want to discourage anyone from trying to build something from scratch. I think it's actually a really, really good thing, and I want to encourage you to do so. In fact, a lot of the videos you're going to see on my channel are about building things from scratch, and I try to take you through first principles. And the reason for this is because you learn more. So, should you code something from scratch? If you're going to learn more, the answer is yes. Whether that means understanding how graphics work from scratch, an algorithm, or trying to build your own programming language. The good news is with resources like YouTube or other online courses, there's a great variety of topics available for you to learn from. So with that said, I would never be discouraged if someone says, hey, that's silly if you want to build an operating system, a compiler, or a video game from scratch in assembly. I think that's cool, but you do have to have some realistic expectations. So on the no side, if there's some sort of economic gain to be had, say if you're working for a studio or a company, you might have to use some pre-built tools, and that should be totally fine. Think about it this way if you're still wanting, like I was for a long time, to build everything from scratch. By using other people's tools, you can see what their API is, how they've structured their code, and just get a general sense of the architecture of software. I think that's also an important part of balancing what you should code from scratch as well as use other tools. For me, on the yes side though, coming back to that, I do like to build tools from scratch. It's a little bit easier to debug because I always have the source code available and I know how things work. On the no side though, my code's probably not as tested as a commercial system. So you can see there's a little bit of a trade-off here depending on what you're trying to build. So what I would recommend is this. If you're just starting off on your programming journey, don't be afraid to use tools. You can start off with Python, a game engine like Unity 3D, or Unreal Engine, or any of these pre-built tools that are going to allow you to build a cool creation. You'll learn from them what functions are being called. And then if you want slowly over time, you can build some of those programs. So it's a little bit of a journey. And as they say, life, especially as a programmer, is a marathon. You don't have to do it all at once. So what I would recommend doing if you're just a beginner is committing to smaller projects and then building those things from scratch so you'll learn. That's a great way to start. And as you progress throughout your programming career, what I would then recommend is that you do take time to pick up a systems book, learn C at a very good level, pick up an assembly book. Learning these fundamentals aren't going to change anytime in the future, at least as far as I can see. So that's sort of my answer. Don't be discouraged. Be excited when you build something from scratch. Seek out the resources to do so, because today it's a great time to do so. But if you're just trying to build a game or maybe a larger project, don't be afraid to lean on some tools and build something, whatever it might be. Maybe you're also trying to build a compiler from scratch and learning C++ from some of the videos I've been posting. Either way, I hope that was useful, and I hope it gives you a balanced perspective. And in fact, if I have to give a definitive answer on should you code it from scratch, I will say yes, because most people are going to discourage you, and I think you'll learn a lot about building something from scratch. Part of that process might be looking at some existing tools anyway. So folks, I hope this was useful advice. I hope this told you a little bit about my journey and can help you on yours. Go build the next great thing, comment below, and let me know what it is. I can't wait to see it. Take care, folks.